Thank you, Brian, and we are back. Congressman Denny Rehberg, our newsmaker guest this morning. Good to see you, Denny. I don't know if I told you that or not, but it's always good to see you.
Thank you.
You're on a little vacation now from Congress, and when do you have to go back?
Well, there's never really a vacation.
No, there isn't, but you're out of D.C. anyway.
Yes, I am. I have to be back on September 4th. So we're going to be having listening sessions up in Columbus, Big Timber, White Sulphur Springs, spend some time in Bozeman. This is our what we call the district work period. And we just hit the road and make ourselves available to be yelled at or, yelled at.
Sometimes they yell at you, and other times they just yell at you.
It's nice, though. We have provide an opportunity for people to gather together, usually at the county seat, and we try and hit all 56 counties every Congress, and been pretty successful in getting that done. So, we're not doing everything right, and sometimes we need to hear that. People have a different perspective, and when you're out in the country, you go, oh, yeah, okay, now I get it.
You know how I used to describe that? I used to do a lot of flying, as you do. I used to ask for radar vectors every once in a while if I was on a long trip. And it wasn't necessary to see where I am. It's to see if I know where I am. Yeah. Or am I where I think I'm supposed to be? And you get that radar vector and you're satisfied, but sometimes you're not there.
I have, in fact, looked down and said, that does not look like Malta, Montana. It looks a lot like Canada. My numbers were off, and, in fact, I had flown across the border without really realizing it. And so that's apropos to the business we're in. Sometimes you lose your direction. You don't want to. You'd never like to have to admit it. But sometimes you get your comeuppance, and you only get that because people in Montana are still willing to disagree with you. They're not disagreeable, but they look you in the eye and say, what were you thinking? He said, I don't know. So let's talk about it. And you pick up some of your best ideas just being in a car. And I remember a governor I had served with one time flew in and out of a grand opening or a dedication down in Baker, Montana, and I was in a car on the ground, and I thought to myself, it's important to be on the ground because you hear something after the plane leaves and the politicians are gone. People say, gosh, I hope they weren't here just for a photo shoot. And that's a lot of what goes on in politics, and that's the part that offends me as well, this feeling like we have to be on the front line of every fire. Sometimes you say, am I in your way? And if they were honest with you, they'd say, yeah, you really are. Maybe you ought to let us get on to our work. And the photo shoot's nice, but let's put the fire out.
You're usually taking some key personnel away from their job, too, to show you around, and I'm sure that gets under their hide a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough fires on my own ranch. We had a major one last 4th of July, and we had another one this 4th of July. And being so close to Billings and kids with fireworks, I have to admit I started one when I was a kid on our ranch.
Did you
and
really?
The fire trucks, the old O'Donnell Fire Service had to come out, and my dad, of course, was furious. And Willie Dimmich from Pepsi, if you're listening, Tommy and I started it. I just have to admit that right up front. But those dumb things happen.
Yeah.
But I've fought enough fire and belonged to enough volunteer fire departments to know that sometimes people are in the way, and best intentions, but let them put the fire out.
Yeah, and talk to them later.
Yep.
Let's go to Robert. He's calling from Columbia Falls. Robert, you're on the air.
Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Robert.
I'm interested very much so. I'm about on Social Security or getting close to it. And it seems to me with 50 million people or thereabouts uninsured and a system where we don't have affordability or portability, we have a system that really appears to be more for the lobbyists and the drug and insurance companies than it is for people, here in Montana, because that's where we are. And you say we have the best system in the world, but it's only for some people. And I think if you put people ahead of dollars, I think doesn't take rocket science to fix that. We don't have to have Canada's system, England's, or France's. You guys can make a system that works for us so that I can take a job in another state, or I can move to take care of my elderly parents and work there and take my health insurance with me.
Yep.
The pre-existing condition, all that stuff, you guys could fix if you'd find the will to do it. Thank you.
Robert is absolutely right. If there is the will, we can fix that system. Take the Medicare prescription drug coverage for seniors. Congress had been working on it for 40 years, literally since the 60s. And as the need arose, it was better to provide that service than the hospital care, which was no longer as necessary. If you'll review that legislation, the pharmaceutical industry was not in favor of what we attempted to do. They fought many aspects of the prescription drug coverage for seniors. And it was just one of those we said, look, we're just not going to necessarily roll over and do what you want us to do. The insurance industry, let me give you a pretty good example. Since I got there in 2001, I have advocated what was called the Association Healthcare Plan. Let's use the realtors as an example. The Montana realtors should be able to team up with the Wyoming, Idaho, Washington, Oregon realtors for the purposes of, through their association, providing health care insurance coverage. But federal law precludes that. Why? I'll use a name. Blue Cross Blue Shield opposes it. Because they have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana. And Wyoming is an entirely different corporation. And Idaho is an entirely different corporation. And it would cut into their business. I have bucked them every step of the way, saying, yeah, you provide a good service. We know and we like you because we need health insurance, but you're wrong on this one. You have to allow us the opportunity to cross state lines. But essentially, who has opposed it? Well, in Congress, the Democrats, and right here, our own state auditor, Mr. Morrison, because he will lose the state control of health insurance. But we honestly believe that you can provide a better quality service cheaper by allowing people to pool together to cross state lines, because we live in a nation now, not necessarily just in Montana. And so
it's just simple. It's the law of large numbers, and of course, very highly populated states, they find that easy to do. We don't here.
That's right. And those are two examples of where I personally and our party has tried to buck, and have in fact successfully bucked, the pharmaceutical industry on the prescription drug coverage for seniors, and didn't get it done, and did everything we possibly could. We even tried to tag the Association Healthcare Plan to the minimum wage increase, and we were told by the Democrats, no, that wasn't going to happen in Washington. And so we try every day. It's not as visible. People don't see it all the time, but that is occurring. And eventually you win one, and we won one with the prescription drug coverage for seniors. We won that one.
Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, you're on the air. Got about 2 minutes before the break, but you've got a question or a comment for Congressman Rehberg.
Yes, sir. I'll make it quick.
Okay.
Number one, as far as everybody's health care, I'm tired of being penalized because I go to work for a living for paying for everybody else's health care. It's not my fault that a parent doesn't happen to have insurance and so on and so forth. I happen to take care of a lot of things because the insurance is outrageous. That's just a comment that I'm tired of paying for other people. I would like to see something come out of your office about the ethics in Washington. It seems to me such a huge double standard. I can do it, but y'all can't, being Social Security or whatever. And so many criminals in Washington that get off scot-free, whereas other people would go to jail, and probably rightly so. I would love to see something coming out of your office addressing the incredible lack of ethics in Washington, causing people to not trust a politician as far as you can throw your car.
Kevin, give me an example now what you're talking about on ethics, would you please?
Well, all of the people that, $90,000 in a freezer.
Okay.
I mean, good hell.
Okay.
There's an example. I'm sure that there are even many, many, many others that are way below that standard that are still just plain wrong. If not legally wrong, just ethically really wrong. People always setting themselves up above everybody else, so that they forget who put them there and who they're there to serve rather than serving themselves. It is amazing. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm listening.
Oh, I got a cell phone echo. It's just amazing to me how rich people get on a government salary. I happen to work for the government, and I will never be rich. Maybe I should go to Washington. I think that they ought to go get a real job after a short period of time, but the ethics are just so below standard.
Okay. Well, Kevin, I'll tell you make your point very, very well, and it's an interesting question, and when we come back from the break, we'll ask Congressman Rehberg if he has a comment about it. I want to encourage you to give us a call while we have Congressman Rehberg here, 1-866-627-5483, and we will be right back.